When we think of Wild West guns, we think of cowboys and heroes. We think of the white hat winning the day with a clean shot. But let's be honest with each other. These weapons weren't just tools of justice, they were machines of death. Cold, efficient, and brutally final. Hollywood sells you a fantasy. It sells you the quick draw, the dramatic fall, and the triumphant music. The reality? The reality was the smell of gunpowder, the screams of terrified horses, and the ugly thud of lead hitting flesh. It was about ending a life before the other guy ended yours. Today, we are cutting through the legend. We are diving into the hardware, the specific pieces of engineering that stacked the bodies higher than any others. From the dusty streets of Dodge City to the bloody ridges of the Indian Wars, these are the 10 guns that killed more people than any other in the Wild West. Before we start, if you're a fan of real history, the gritty, untold stories they don't show in the movies, hit that subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss what's coming. Let's begin. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a gun that looks like something from a science fiction novel, but it's the ghost that haunts every other weapon here, the volcanic pistol. Now you might look at this and think, that's the killer. And you'd be half right. Designed by the Hudson's Bay Company and mass-produced in the mid-1850s, the Volcanic was a lever-action repeater. It was sleek, futuristic, and totally unreliable. It used a rocket ball bullet, basically a hollowed-out projectile with the powder and primer stuffed inside. The idea was genius, but the execution was pathetic. It was underpowered. It couldn't kill a man reliably at 10 paces. It was a commercial disaster. So why is it on a list of killers? Because the Volcanic Arms Company failed. But from its ashes, the technology and the investors didn't die. They regrouped. They became 2 companies you might have heard of, Winchester and Smith and Wesson. The Volcanic itself barely killed anyone. But the idea it carried, the repeating mechanism, that idea killed tens of thousands. It's the grandfather of death. And speaking of death in the family, number 9 is the blue-collar killer. The gun that didn't care about your quick-draw skills. The double-barreled shotgun. Forget the fancy revolving pistols. If you were a regular cowboy, a stagecoach guard, or a farmer protecting his claim, you grabbed a scattergun. Usually a 10 or 12 gauge, this thing was the ultimate argument ender. Why was it so deadly? Because you didn't need to aim. You just needed to point. In the close quarters of a saloon or a dark alley, the spread of buckshot turned a man into a red mist. It was brutal, messy, and effective. When Billy the Kid made his famous escape from the Lincoln County Jail in 1881, he didn't grab a 6-shooter. He grabbed a shotgun from his guard, Deputies Bell and Ollinger. He used it to blow Deputy Bell away. It wasn't glamorous, it was sudden, violent, and final. This was the weapon of choice for the working-class killer. But if you think that was bad, wait until you hear about number 8. Number 8 is a revolver that challenged the king and armed a nation at war with itself. The Remington 1858. This was a .44 caliber beast of a gun. Unlike Colt's open-top design, the Remington had a solid frame. That meant it was stronger, more reliable, and actually more accurate. It was a favorite of serious gunmen like Wild Bill Hickok and Frank James. But its body count doesn't come from just a few famous outlaws. It comes from the factory floor. Over 140,000 of these were cranked out. They were used by Union and Confederate soldiers in the Civil War, and then those same soldiers carried them west. This gun killed Americans in blue, Americans in gray, and then it killed Native Americans on the plains. It's a three-war killer. From the blood-soaked fields of Shiloh to the dusty streets of Abilene, the Remington 1858 was there, punching holes through history. Sliding in at number 7, we have a gun that changed the mathematics of a gunfight, the Spencer repeating rifle. Picture this. You are a Confederate soldier or a Native American warrior. You are facing a Union cavalryman. You have a single-shot musket. It takes you 20 seconds to reload. He has a Spencer. He has 7 shots loaded in the stock of his gun. The Spencer used a falling block action and held 7 metallic cartridges in a tube in the buttstock. You just worked the lever, and another round was ready. It turned one man into a firing squad. While it wasn't the cowboy rifle of legend, it was a battlefield killer. The U.S. Army used it during the Indian Wars, and it was devastating. It outgunned the opposition so badly that it turned desperate fights into one-sided massacres. It wasn't about being a cowboy. It was about being an agent of efficient extermination. But the next gun on our list? It made this one look like a toy. Number 6 is the sniper of the plains. The gun that could reach out and touch you before you even knew you were in a fight. The Sharps rifle. Nicknamed Old Reliable, the Sharps was a falling block single-shot rifle. But don't let single shot fool you. It was accurate out to over 1,000 yards. This was the long-range assassin of the 19th century. It was used by the Union Army's elite sharpshooters, but its most terrifying chapter was written on the Great Plains. Buffalo hunters used the Sharps .50 caliber to wipe out the great herds. Men like Buffalo Bill, Cody, used it to kill over 4,000 buffalo in just 18 months. Why does that matter for our list? Because the Sharps killed the buffalo, and killing the buffalo killed the Native American way of life. The U.S. government knew it. Starvation and forced relocation killed thousands more than bullets ever could. The Sharps rifle was the tool that made that tragedy possible. It killed a nation without even aiming at a man. Coming in at number 5 is the direct predecessor to the most famous rifle in American history, the Henry rifle. The Henry was a .44 caliber rimfire, 16-shot repeater. It was the gun that let a man load on Sunday and shoot all week long. During the Civil War, Confederate troops faced with the Henry called it that damned Yankee rifle that they load on Sunday and shoot all week. It was terrifying. The sheer volume of lead it could throw meant that a small squad of Henry-armed soldiers could hold off a much larger force. But it was delicate. The magazine tube under the barrel was exposed. If it took a hit, the whole gun could explode in your hands. It wasn't perfect, but it proved a point. Firepower wins, and it set the stage for the gun that would actually win the West. We're halfway through the list, and we haven't even touched the icons yet. We've talked about the Henry, the Sharps, the Spencer. But which of these guns do you think is number 1? Is it the Colt Peacemaker, the Winchester, or something even darker? Type your guess in the comments right now. I'm reading them. And while you're typing, hit that like button if you want to see more videos like this. It really helps the channel. Now, let's get back to it. Because number 4, this is where the legend meets the outlaw. Number 4 is the revolver of the outlaw legend himself, the Smith & Wesson Model 3. This was a top-break, .44 American masterpiece. It was fast to reload. You just broke it open, the ejector star popped the spent casings out, and you slapped in a new round. It was sleek, powerful, and deadly. It was adopted by the Russian Empire and the U.S. Army. But its reputation was forged in the hands of criminals, specifically Jesse James. The James Younger gang loved the Model 3. It was the gun used in countless bank robberies, train heists, and cold-blooded murders. This gun didn't just kill soldiers, it killed civilians. It was the weapon of choice for the first generation of organized crime in America. It represents the shift from killing in war to killing for profit. When Jesse James was finally shot in the back by Robert Ford, the murder weapon was a Colt. But the gun Jesse used to build his bloody legend, that was the Smith & Wesson Model 3. The bronze medal goes to a gun that is less of a pistol and more of a handheld cannon, the Colt Walker. Designed in 1847 by Samuel Colt and Captain Samuel Walker of the Texas Rangers, this was the most powerful black powder handgun ever made. We are talking about a .44 caliber that held 60 grains of powder, double the load of a normal pistol. It weighed 4.5 pounds. This gun was made for one reason: to kill a man on a horse instantly. On the Texas frontier, the Rangers used the Walker to take down Comanche warriors. One well-placed shot from a Walker could kill a horse, and it did. It didn't wound, it destroyed. The problem? They were so powerful they had a tendency to explode. Only about 1,000 were made, but the sheer, brutal force of that 1,000 cemented its place in history. It set the standard for stopping power. But if you think a hand cannon is scary, wait until you see the machine that won the West, the runner-up. Number 2 is the gun that has a body count so high it's almost impossible to calculate. I'm talking about the Winchester Model 1873, the gun that won the West. And let's be brutally honest about what winning the West actually meant. It meant settling the frontier, yes, but it also meant the systematic displacement and destruction of the Native American population. The Winchester 1873 was the tool that made that happen. It was the first really reliable, sleek repeater. Chambered in the iconic .44-40 cartridge, you could use the same ammo in your rifle and your pistol. It was seamless. It was efficient. Over 720,000 of these rifles were produced. It was used by settlers to defend homesteads that were built on stolen land. It was used by lawmen to enforce a new kind of order. And it was used by the army to push tribes onto reservations. Every time a tribe was forced off their ancestral lands, a Winchester was usually pointing at them. It is the king of the frontier, but it is not the king of this list. So, what beats the Winchester? What gun could possibly have a higher body count than the gun that won the West? Number 1 is the icon, the symbol of the era, the Colt Single-Action Army, the Peacemaker. Now you might think this is too obvious, but hear me out. The Peacemaker wasn't just a gun. It was a status symbol. It was a tool of survival. Introduced in 1873, the same year as the Winchester, it was the standard issue for the U.S. Army for over 20 years. Over 200,000 were made by the end of the century. Why is it number 1? Because of its versatility and its sheer omnipresence. The Peacemaker was in the holster of every lawman, every outlaw, every gambler, and every drunk with a grudge for over 50 years. It was used in the gunfight at the OK Corral. It was used by Pat Garrett to kill Billy the Kid. It was used by John Wesley Hardin, who claimed to have killed 42 men, mostly with a Colt .45. But the real number isn't the famous gunfights. It's the everyday deaths, the barroom brawls that turned fatal, the disputes over a card game, the self-defense killings that were really just murder. For every famous shootout, there were 1,000 anonymous deaths in forgotten towns where a .45 caliber hole was the only argument that mattered. Its nickname is the Peacemaker, but the irony is, it created peace through the sheer terror of its presence. More men drew their last breath looking down the barrel of a Colt SAA than any other gun in the Wild West. It is the ultimate symbol of the era because it is the ultimate symbol of sudden, final death. So, the next time you watch a Western movie and the hero rides off into the sunset after a clean gunfight, remember this: the real story is even darker. It's written in the ledgers of the Colt Company, in the unmarked graves along the Oregon Trail, and in the statistics of a continent conquered by lead and steel. What gun surprised you the most? Was it the volcanic pistol or the sheer brutality of the Sharps rifle, letting a whole nation starve? Let me know in the comments. If you want the real history behind the legends, not the Hollywood fairy tales, but the gritty, bloody truth, subscribe right now. We've got more forgotten weapons and untold stories coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.